Welcome in everybody to Down Home Sports. We have a great show for you. It is the Battle of 287 this Friday night, which means Waxahachie versus Ennis. Depending on what record book you look at, it could be for the 100th time, it could be for the 104th time. No one really knows, but we've got great content for you. We've got 4 ex-coaches and players joining us. We've got ex-Waxahachie AD and head coach Jerry McLemore. We've got ex-Ennis head coach and AD and coach Bill Cox. We've also got former Ennis Lion Ronnie Greer, and then current softball head coach for Waxahachie, but former Indian, former Baylor Bear, former NFL player, and coach Steve Howell. It's a fantastic show. We can't wait to talk to these guys about the rivalry, what it means to them, what it means for their life. Y'all want to stick around for this. Tune on in, Down Home Sports, way to go.
My name is Bill Cox. I'm a retired athletic director of the Ennis ISD. I worked for the Ennis ISD for 49 years. I coached 21 years on the field, 3 years as an assistant principal, and then back to 24 years as the athletic director. It's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it. We've had good people to work with, and kind of blessed and all that.
Jerry McLemore. I started coaching Waxahachie in 1976 as a defensive coordinator with John Goodner. I came here from Denison, Texas, and I was the head coach here, athletic director from 1982 to last football season, 89. And then I was athletic director, safety and security from 1989 to 2006. And left and went to work at the police department, and here I am.
Ronnie Greer, linebacker, 1974, 75, and 76.
My name's Steve Howell. I played 72 to 75, graduated 74, 75. Played running back, quarterback, and played for Baylor University after that, and I went on to play for the Miami Dolphins and Arizona Wranglers.
We're just talking about the rivalry and just the years of tradition and fun, and sometimes some hijinks that don't get done anymore. We'll start with you, Coach Cox. First thing we want to ask is, being the coach, being the AD in Ennis, what is the atmosphere like in Ennis, especially when this week of the Battle of 287 comes around?
You know, I came from Corsicana. We didn't have any rivalries. When I first came to Ennis, I found out what a rivalry was. It's not near as strong as it used to be. And I say strong, it doesn't mean people don't want to win. But it's not, we don't have all that stuff, the hard times and the stuff that people were doing back in those days on both sides that were pretty bad to everybody. I mean, brick through a windshield or a railroad spike under a bus tire. I mean, there was all sorts of things. But when I came to Ennis, these guys over here, they called us the squareheads. And it goes back to our.
I don't remember that.
It goes back to our checked heritage quite a bit. But it's all still very, very competitive. But again, it's on a level today that's I think is very conducive to a good understanding between people and all, and we just have a good time.
Coach McLemore, the flip side to you, what about over here in Waxahachie? How do you think the rivalry is still observed, and how was it observed back then against Ennis?
You know, not being on the inside or working with the school district, etc., I think it was more intense back in the day. I think there was probably people doing things that were not good. I think it got a little too intense, you know, when you get destructive and it gets past the having fun, let's just kind of razz somebody a little bit, you know, and there was a lot of running grass fields and burning E's and burning W's and pouring gas on the field and ryegrass, all kinds of things going on, you know, and coaches sending letters to their kids acting like it's from the other school, and you know, just a lot of different things. You know, I think the too many people are doing things for motivational purposes instead of preparation, which would have still served better, you know, in the winning and losing aspect of it. But a lot of it was in good fun and really good for the program. And you know, we'll tell you this: when we moved here from Denison, Texas, Denison and Sherman's been a rival for over 100 years, and that was the rivalry that I thought was a lot like Ennis Waxahachie. And the first thing that happened to me in Waxahachie, John Goodner was the head coach, and he was hunting for 2 coaches. And so he went to the administration and said, "Boy, I found one good one I really want for a varsity coach." And one of the guys in that room said, "You know his dad's an administrator at Ennis, don't you?" And John said, "Yeah." And he said, "I think that'd be a bad idea." And we didn't hire the guy. But that shows you maybe the intensity was pretty strong when it started affecting personnel and et cetera. But I wouldn't change it for nothing. I think it brought everybody's levels up. It caused you to maybe be a little more intense and hopefully be more prepared. You know, be more prepared than doing all the trickery stuff. That most of that stuff lasts about 4 or 5 plays, and then it's over. So it was pretty intense, a lot of fun.
Well, Ronnie, I'll come to you. Played on the field, played for Ennis. Talk about from the student athlete perspective and just the student's perspective from Ennis, how all the kids got fired up for that week in that game.
Oh, well, it wasn't hard because, you know, we grew up in it. Anytime you have the youth of 2 communities this close proximity together, you got so many kids playing so many different sports and probably their family members, and it's all about bragging rights, you know, around the campfire, at the bowling alley, around the Thanksgiving dinner table or whatever, you know, who gets the drumstick this year, you know. As far as the student body really gets fired up. I mean, even now, still today, I know it's not as intense as it once was, which was pretty intense. They participate and they go back and forth with each other on social media, just like kids do, and it just turns into, you know, good-natured fun now. Back in the day, now, you know, there wasn't a city limit sign on any road going in or out of either town because they were on the bonfire, you know. So those kind of things went on, and as both of these gentlemen mentioned, there were instances of ugliness that came to the point of we discontinued play there in the 60s for several years, a few years there, and then when we did resume play, there were DPS with dogs and I mean really high level security those first couple of years. But it simmered down, and we got back to, you know, playing football and it being more of I would never use the word subdued, but how about calmer, you know. It's always there. 51 weeks a year. I know hate's a strong word, but we hate each other for 7 days. 51 weeks a year, it's all lovey-dovey, you know, and we get along and we love each other, we take care of each other, we do what we can for each other. But for that week, it gets pretty ugly. And I don't know why that is. It's just that's the way it is. And it's been going on for a long time.
Well, Coach Howell, come to you. I know kind of same question, but I know you're still coaching, so you're involved with the kids of today. Let's kind of talk about the differences of what you see with the girls you coach and the kids around the school now in the atmosphere versus when you were there and playing.
Well, we just put Ennis back on the softball schedule, and I like to play them every year. It's very competitive, and they hadn't beaten us for a long time, and every time we played them recently, they've beaten us. So we do play them again this year. So, you know, it's I don't think it's a big rivalry at all for our girls. I mean, we're playing Ennis, but evidently they got a pretty good ball team, and guys, a couple of times they've done a really good job against us. But I have a story about Jack Moss when he was my coach. He probably remembers this. We went out in our Waxahachie jerseys, and we go in the locker room and we come out. But we're fixing to come out. Coach Moss had number 13, which was my number, and he has beat Ennis across front. And I go, Coach, I said, I'm not going to wear this out here. I said, I got beat Ennis on front of my jersey. You don't think they're going to be mad? Oh, yeah. We went out, and I didn't stay on the ground very long when I'd carry the ball because they were grabbing, kicking, and biting and getting this guy that had the ball. And I was like, I think we ended up winning 51-10, but that may be the right. I was exaggerating. Maybe you don't.
Yeah,
know.
that wasn't quite that bad.
Anyway, I believe it was.
You did win.
We did win the game, and I thank God we did. But I couldn't believe the coach did that. You know, as far as we're already fired up playing Ennis, and he's going to put that on my chest, and I was like, this ain't good. You know, as far as the other parts about right over in junior high, when I was in junior high, and they said we're going to go back the back way, and we're going to go in here and put your helmet on your head. Well, you ain't even starting to play, Coach. We ain't off the bus. Just put your helmet on your head. So we end up going to no incident or anything, but I didn't know why until afterwards, you know, about throwing rocks at the bus, and I didn't have anything, no clue about it. But, you know, the rivalry is, I think it's gone down since we started. Now it's just kind of a football game, but it's pumped up by the coaches, and we're playing Ennis, and heck, you make your season, you beat Ennis, or they beat you, and whatever. So I think it's a big thing for the community that we beat Ennis. So that's what they're going to try to do, I'm sure.
Well, Coach Cox, you've been a part of several state championships as a coach, as an AD. So you've been a part of a lot of big games. Talk about when you're on the field from a coaching standpoint. Was there a different feel to the Battle 287, seeing Waxahachie across from you, of getting not just the players but the coaches locked in and ready for a game to win?
You know, it wasn't. I didn't see that so much in myself. My problem was keeping these people like Ronnie and all from getting out of hand. The biggest problem you can have as a coach is to have a bunch of kids that you prepared for and worked for, but to let them get, you know, I guess on the other side, thinking that we got to win this fight, we got to win that, and when really what we want to do is win the game. We don't want to win the arguments or the things that might happen in a ball game. But you know, Waxahachie was not a situation where you had to get, you know, pumped up too much, because it was there, and whether we liked it or not, and Jerry and him got the same problem. We got a bunch of old timers live in town. They still live this game. Every year they live it. You know, they want to talk about this or how it used to be. And the biggest problem I've got with them nowadays is this is not the way it used to be. Right now we're playing ball. We're trying to get it done. We're going to educate these kids to the point that they're able to get out there and do the job we want done. And like I said, it's nothing like a state championship preparation, but I guarantee you it was always competitive, and Jerry and I have had quite a run on some of these things, and but I guarantee you it's good now to see the town and the kids that are getting together and we're playing ball now. It's not this whole thing where you might have a word like hate or that type thing come into it. Now it's all on a situation where you want to be competitive and get out there and win the ball game for yourself, for your coaches, for your school, and it has nothing to do with all this wild stuff that we used to have to go through. And that was all bad stuff. It was both ways. Don't get me wrong. We had some stinkers on our side too.
So, Coach McLemore, did it mean or did it make more impact when you're coaching across the field from guys that you know, guys that you respect, and that I guess friendly, or being friendly now, maybe not friendly during the game, but did it add something when you know that coaching staff and kind of have an idea of what you're dealing with across the field?
You know, sometimes I almost made a practice of never getting friendly with a head coach of another team. You know, I didn't think I could have the intensity it took to be successful. And of course, at the time, then Bill and I got to be good friends. Probably Bill more, and Bill's the only two opposing coaches that I got very close to, because I thought that took away from your competitive edge, and I was never socially involved with anybody. And but I think what we get into, exactly what Bill said, if we overdo the rivalry stuff, we get completely away of what we talk about. Coaches talk about building character and building the type of attributes that you want to carry kids throughout their lives. And if you're not careful, the hate and the bitterness that goes on with rivalries has nothing to do with what we talk about. So I like it more the way it is today. It's still competitive, but I think you have to keep things in perspective. And I think that's more important. And then winning becomes perspective in Texas. The reason is because they're going to fire you if you lose. And it puts a lot of pressure on you.
What do you think drove the rivalry? Is it being so close? Is it a difference in towns and philosophies? What do you think drove that initial Waxahachie versus Ennis rivalry?
Well, I think that proximity of each other had a lot to do with it, but it's been said here so far about how it's different now. And my own opinion of that is because back then, and for a long period of time, probably 50 years, we were in the same district, and the ball game meant something. Okay, normally it was the last game of the season, and one or the other or both teams were in the running for the district championship. And also back then, if you didn't win district, you didn't go to the playoffs. It's somewhat watered down now, in my humble opinion.
Somewhat.
But back in the day, if you didn't make it, if you didn't win that district championship, you didn't go to the playoffs. And that, for me, I think is what really drove it heavily toward not just being the rivalry of it, but being a very important ball game to both towns, both cities, both teams. Everyone in general that was a fan of the game. The ball game meant something. Okay. Now today, I'm not saying that it doesn't mean anything, because nobody wants to win any more than Sam Harrell, okay, or the Waxahachie coaching staff or team or our players, okay. But now, it not being a district ball game, just being a regular season game, you want to win it, but your goal is to get better, okay, and that's what you keying on now, is you want to go out, perform well, execute, get those plays in, and come out the other end a better team than you went in.
And again, Coach Howell, come to you as a guy that played not just here at Waxahachie, played D1 football, played professional football. You were a part of different rivalries, I'm guessing, at Baylor, played big games in the NFL. Talk about maybe the difference, or what level would you put this Waxahachie-Ennis matchup in comparison to maybe some of the games that you've got to play in?
Well, preparation-wise, I think the coaches, they try to make it as a big ball game. We got to win this ball game. I don't compare it to college as much, and we've played A&M with Baylor, and then in Miami we had Philadelphia Eagles, whoever. But I think the level is less in high school than it is in professional level, and it's just you got paid to do it. If you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you get fired and be walking on the streets. But I think but I enjoy high school ball a lot better than I enjoyed Baylor. I enjoyed high school ball more than, it was more camaraderie among the friends, and those friends last forever. The high school friends. And I still keep in touch with those guys, and so I think high school is really a good atmosphere.
So this next one's going to be, next couple will be kind of general question, and we'll start with Coach Cox, but it'll be the same one for all of you. In your memory, what is maybe one game between Waxahachie and Ennis that stands out to you?
Well, there's 2 or 3 things. Steve's talking about this beat Ennis shirt.
Yeah.
I remember when the whole team wore.
Well, we did.
Beat
We
Ennis
wore
shirts.
all of them wore, so that wasn't just me.
and they won, didn't they?
We did.
What'd y'all wear the next week?
Next year.
Next year?
I don't remember.
I can tell you it was coming to
Yeah.
what happened then.
We probably got beat.
You did. All right. That's one thing.
Too many concussions.
I'm glad your memory's good on that. I hate for it to be bad. No, I've, you start to think about it. Of course, one of my memories is not a good one. Was a playoff game we had up at South Grand Prairie that time.
Oh, yeah, that was,
everything.
I'd gotten out of coaching.
We,
That was
we got
88.
into some, the thing broke down to a brawl and everything and all, and I told my wife, I said, if it's gonna come down to this, I don't know whether I wanna be involved in it or not. But the administrators involved got into it and all, we got it all straightened out, and everything's been great since then. But every once in a while, I will say this, and I'll shut up. Every once in a while, Waxahachie would have a surprise for us. And I remember one surprise they had for us was a running back named T.J. Hutchinson. And he was pretty good
I heard that.
to the point that he beat us that night at home. But I don't know, it's been good, and like I said, the memories are right now are all positive for me, and got some good friends, and it's just one of those things that you'd like to be able to remember all those games, and I wished I could, but I'll have to leave that to Ronnie and some of those guys. They got a younger mind than I do.
Yeah, right.
Well, Coach McLemore, what about you? Do you have any games that stick out in your mind?
I was thinking about this just the other day, and I had two things that stick out in my mind, and it kind of just shows me what the rivalry was, and it's good and bad. I think it's 77, 78 when Dick Stringfellow was the head coach. I was the defense coordinator and secondary coach. We were playing at Ennis in that real nice ball field over there, on the other side of town, with the nice dressing rooms and bathrooms.
We
You
modeled
remember that
that
one?
after y'all over Bill.
So anyway, probably about half of the fourth quarter left. They're up, I'm going to say 21 points, whatever. So we get down to the last 3 or 4 minutes, and we crowd the line with the secondary just to act like you're still trying to win. And as the game clock's running out, and the quarterback dropped back 3 steps and acts like he's going to go down, come back up, hit the tight end for a touchdown. So I lived with that memory for about 2 years. And in '82, my first year as head coach, this is the bad part of it. We're up 50-0, whatever it was, late in the game. I had my starting receiver in, Clay Smith. I never felt so bad in my life. I was going to throw one more touchdown just to spite Ennis. He caught it, tore up his knee, missed the rest of the year. So there you got things build up, and you do things that you shouldn't have done and you wouldn't have done if you was in the right mindset. But the rivalry sometimes could put you in a different feeling, and I went through it and paid for it. So there you go for getting back at someone.
Can't believe you'd take a shot at our stadium over there.
It was a nice place.
Let me tell y'all this. I have a friend who was a high school principal, and his fondest memory of that old stadium, he said if you went underneath that stadium to that restroom down on the south end, it's the only stadium in the history of Texas, that you could order nachos, go to the bathroom, and watch football game at the same time. You could see through the wall.
It was something.
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie, come back to you. Same question. Any games stick in mind?
Man, you got enough tape in that thing?
Yeah.
There were so many. I mean, I saw my first Waxahachie game in 1966, so it goes back a long way. But I guess the two that I'll remember the most, well, 3, let's say 3, and that's the one also that my good friend Steve spoke about, and that was I was a freshman, and I was in the stands when all that was happening, and And it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth that night that they came over with those shirts on. And so my sophomore year, I was lucky enough to move up to the varsity. And they come out and they've got coma 2. Of course, you know, we didn't have a Latin dictionary, so we didn't know exactly what it meant. But by the game time, we figured that, you know, it meant win twice or something like that or whatever it was. But as a sophomore, I'm out there and I run out there and line up, and here comes Steve around the corner, you know. And I learned a whole lot about that inside head fake that night. And he probably got 8 or 9 yards down the field on me before I could drag him down from behind. And we wound up winning that one 52-11. I'll never forget that score, brother.
How did we get 11?
I don't know. But anyway, that was a good one. And my junior year, the year we won state, okay, that beat Ennis game was played at Ennis, and the Coma 2 game was played at Ennis because they were built in Lumpkin, okay? So when we came over here in 75, it was our first time to play here on this field, and I can't remember the kid's name, but the running back's name was Williams. And Coach Moss, as he spoke of earlier, I think his name was Jack, wasn't it? Jack Moss, and Fitzhugh was one of the assistants. And they hadn't mowed the grass in about 2 weeks. And so it was a good 5 or 6 inches tall. But, man, let me tell you, what a ball game. I mean, we had a knockdown, drag out. It was a defensive struggle the whole game. And we won that ball game 7-6. Mm-hmm. And it was the best game anyone had given us that year that we won state until we played Pecos. And I give those kids a lot of credit. It was a knockdown, drag out, a whole lot of bloodshed. I'll never forget that one. That was a well of a ball game. But since then, of course, you know, the last game, when Sam came, we were kind of down, and the score got run up some and what have you, and so he kind of got a bad taste in his mouth about that. But the very last ball game played at Old Line Stadium was the Waxahachie game, and I believe we won it 65-0 or something like that, and we thought, wow, what a great way. That was 2000.
When you get older, the story gets better.
The score starts
That
creeping.
man 500 yards that night.
I got it in the book.
You probably do.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. And going to what we were talking about earlier about 100 years, 104 years. We got a number. WISD's got a number. Texas High School Football.com's got a number. Guess what? They're all 3 different. So let's go somewhere we can all agree and say we've been playing it for a long time, okay? And the ball game, it's important to a lot of people that played it then, okay, and have watched it a long time since. And it's going to be that way to those that haven't played it yet, to those that hadn't even been born yet. Okay, because the game's going to be played, regardless of classification, regardless of position in the state at the time. The ball game's going to be played because it's a rivalry. It's one of the best rivalries in the state of Texas, bar none, no argument. And I think if we could agree with, hey, we've been playing it for a long time, we'd be better off than trying to put a number on it that nobody can agree with. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at with that,
I was about to say, you're right. You look it up and you get 48, 47 one way,
Yeah.
47, 49
I mean, I'm not
one
going to
way.
disparage anybody that put research in it on their side, and I'm certainly not going to, not stand with my guy that researched and put countless hours of work in it. I don't know about TexasHighSchoolFootball.com. I think they've got it at 98, if I'm not mistaken, but. And I don't even know what the discrepancies are. Don't care. Let's play.
Play ball. I like
That's
it.
it.
Coach Howell, kind of rounding out with you. Any games stick in mind?
Well, it was probably, all the concussions I've had, trying to remember some of the stuff that happened back then. But I think it was more I didn't know it was a rivalry when I was a kid growing up. And then when I got in high school, we were playing Ennis. We were playing another team. So it really, until they started, the coaches started building it up. And then, I had Coach Ray McCullough and Jimmy Ray and some of these people. And they're like, oh, man, we got to beat Ennis, got to beat Ennis. And I said, it's just right down the road. I didn't understand that, but I competed in every sport. So, it became a rivalry to me. But probably the beat Ennis night, it was kind of a dramatic thing to me when I come in and we come dressed out in Waxahachie jersey, and everybody comes in and he's got a box of jerseys sitting by the door, and I look at him and he holds up my number, and everybody had beat Ennis jerseys on, and he come up to me and he hands mine at first, and I was begging him, dude, Coach, I don't want to wear this. You're kidding, right? No, we bought these things and we're going to wear them. By God, we're going out the door. So that game was a standout to me, and I don't know how good a running back I was, but I know one thing, I was running scared.
Oh, you were good.
I ran scared, and maybe that's why I had a good game, because I didn't want to get hit. I didn't want to get in a pile. I wanted to get up, get down, and get out of there, and they'd call my play the next play. And, me again? Are you kidding me? So, that was part of one of my great memories of that game. And, Coach Harrell's come back over, and he's rejuvenated Ennis again. And, so Waxahachie's, it ought to be a great game, so I'm looking forward to seeing it Friday night.
Awesome. I'm going to stick with the two guys on the back row here real quick. And Ronnie, I'll come to you. What does it mean sitting here with these two former coaches, former ADs, I would say legends around Waxahachie and Ennis, but that have been a part of your life, sitting up here and talk, the camaraderie now? What does it mean to you sitting back here behind Coach McLemore and Coach Cox?
Oh, man, it's greatness, Coach Cox has been a father figure. I've known Jerry for ages, dealing with he and Buck Jordan, over here in that crew. I mean, great guys. I mean, that have done great things over here, and got total respect for those guys. Coach Cox and Esri and Stringfella and of course Coach Harrell, as he's mentioned, and all of those guys in between. It's like a family, okay? And I'm sure it's the same way over here, because young guys need that connection. They need the daily interaction with those guys that have been down that road, and they're able to, allow kids to kind of soak in a little bit of that, because they're not wanting it. I mean, you're fighting it the whole time. And I can't tell you how many times in my life something that this guy said to me has come to me as wisdom, okay, down the road. So.
Well, Coach Mack, I knew him. He was coaching there when I was in probably junior high, and I remember him, and he was always around, and he was the AD, and one of his famous slogans, let me say this right, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I don't remember that.
Anyway, that was one
You
of
know the other one? When in doubt, duke 'em out.
But, I remember him, people saying that, and they said it year after year to me, and that was, it was kind of a thing kind of stuck in my mind, and not probably cheating, but, whatever.
No.
Right.
Not that we don't do that.
No, he wouldn't do
Done
that.
No.
But anyway, he was a guy that I always looked up to when I was at Waxahachie, and then I went on to coach there, and so he was a good man.
Well, coaches, I'll come up here to the front to you guys and start with you, Coach Cox. What does it mean when you've got two guys behind you that were part of the rivalry that played for you, but to see, and I'm sure you got droves of players that can tell you good stories, but to look back and still see that the guys have that connection and still want to be a part of the football, still want to be a part of the program in Ennis.
First of all, one of the things that I never really thought about while I was coaching was any kind of effect that I had on these guys. I never thought about being a role model or teaching them any great values and stuff. I was teaching them football. But at the same time, I look back and there were a lot of chances and a lot of times you had to impart some wisdom, maybe straighten somebody out every once in a while. But you know, I've been at this. I was at it 49 years, and the main thing that I always tell everybody is a great ride. It was so good working with kids, and now I can look at these guys and see the success they have, their families. I always told everybody that parents, if they would let us have their kids and back us, that we would give them back a guy that could clean his room. He could say yes sir and no sir. He would know right from wrong, and he'd be a good citizen. Those are the things we were trying to teach. And like I said, we feel like that we've done that. You know, I think about it every once in a while, how close I am to a few of mine. But the thing about it is, you're close with all of them. Those kids will come up and say things to you. Hey, Coach, you don't remember me, do you? Your face is familiar.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a comeback.
Yeah, it is.
But they'll give you a name and you'll think, I remember that. So, no, I think that as a job, I really believe that the Lord put me where He wanted me and put me with these kids. And I like to think that we've done a good job with them, that those things I told you that we would try to teach them, that we've been able to do those things.
Coach McLemore, we'll come to you. Same question for Coach Cox, seeing those guys that played for you, seeing even Coach Howell here and speaking about you and that time. How does it make you feel looking back now after years of being not just Coach AD and seeing these guys grow up in the community?
You know, I think exactly what Bill said. I think the older I get and the more kids I run into, the more you realize that you did leave some influence to them and things they hopefully built their lives on, and you hope some of them wasn't bad, but I think it proves the impact of athletics. And you know, listening to these two guys talk, Ronnie and Steve, that's what athletics does, in my opinion. Competitive athletics builds character and builds people that's going to be successful in life. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, you're not going to give up when things are going bad. You're going to keep competing. And one saying I did make, I don't remember that, not cheating, not trying stuff, but hard work doesn't guarantee success. It only makes it possible. And we talked about that a lot. And I think if you look at it in that perspective, that's going to get you through a lot of things in life. And I think what we're talking about here is life, and maybe sometimes competitiveness between two towns 15 miles apart get out of hand, but there's more positive that comes out of it than there is negative. And I wouldn't trade what I was able to do and here in Waxahachie and the kids and the communities and everybody else for anything.
Well, last question for you guys. Coach Cox, we'll start with you. And I know some sayings and stuff have been thrown out, but regardless of the rivalry, if you had to give one piece of advice to anybody playing this game, wanting to play football, get involved with coaching, what would it be?
To me, you can't pass up an opportunity. You only get one shot at this. And I've told parents this so often. You know, don't tell your kid that he can't do it. Let him find out that he can't. Give him an opportunity to be successful. And if he finds out that he can't, then everything is okay. But if you tell him he can't, it's going to be a hard road for you later on. But I think that I would encourage all kids to be active in athletics, because I think there's a lot of things to learn. I always told that mama and that daddy that when that big lineman lines up across your little bitty kid over there at that guard technique, and that big lineman standing over there, you can't call timeout and go over there and hit him.
Right.
He's going to have to handle that himself. And I think that's what athletic does. It forces kids to handle situations. You don't always have to win them, but you got to be competitive. It's kind of like, you know, that the saying that you just gave on that opportunity stuff.
Right.
You know, you ought to have a shot at it. You ought to have a chance. But anyway, I don't know. Of course, I'm sold on athletics. I just feel like there's so much to teach kids through those.
You know, to me, the philosophy that's going on today in high schools does bother me, and I would like to see us work our way back away from it, and that's specialization. I think too many kids are pushed too early to make a choice, and a lot of these kids are not old enough to know what they're going to be or what they want to be, and I hate to see it from coaches, parents, and outside organizations that are trying to get kids to quit one sport to play another. You know, let them play all they want. They'll learn on their own which ones they're competitive in and which ones they need to go and stay with. And I think the rest of us need to get out of that picture and let kids do what they want. And the more sports and more different activities they play, the more rounded a person they're going to be when it's all over. Because a so small a percentage is ever going to get a scholarship like Steve Howell got to a major college. It just doesn't happen. So let them enjoy their high school sports and be as good as they can be, and let's let it go at that.
Ronnie?
Well, I'd like to echo both of these guys and some of that they've said, and I would add that the most important thing is to want to be a part of it. You know, the hard work's going to push you away. The play in the dozens, we called it back in the day, is like a total messing with each other all the time. That's going to give you a bad feeling. But it's all inclusive in the total. Okay, football isn't for everybody, all right. But if you can sacrifice to be a part of it and be a part of a team and learn that something greater than me kind of an attitude, and contribute to that and become a part of that, it's like Steve said, it's a lifetime. I mean, I'm part of it. They're part of me forever. So that right there, that means something. The game parallels life so many ways that every kid that can be a part of one of these teams needs to. It's like Coach said, it's an important thing to learn, sacrifice, schedule, all of those things, responsibility. That's all part of the game, And if you do those things and you listen, okay, because you know how hard it is for a young man, 14 to 17, to actually listen to somebody, it's probably not going to happen, all right? The words are said, and you're absorbing them, okay? And like I said of Coach Cox, Coach Esri, all those guys, Stringfellow, they come back when you're faced with a similar situation down the road in life. That comes back to you. All right, and it emboldens you to be able to face up to that, and I believe that's the key. That's the one thing that when you don't think you're listening, you are, because you're getting it, you're absorbing it. It may not mean anything to you until later, but it's going to impact your life.
Coach Howell?
Well, I don't know where I would be without my coaches. I had some, Jack Moss was my high school coach, and Mike Turner coaching me in baseball. I've had Jack Aldridge, basketball coach. I was one of those kind of guys that I played every sport, and I got to associate with a lot of good coaches. And then I went to Baylor, Grant Taft, and Don Shula, those kind of people. I'm not sure where I'd be right now without those kind of great guys to influence me and show me the way. And things aren't always good, but I can handle adversity of any sort right now because of athletics, the hard times, the good times, and enjoy all of them. So I just thank God for all my coaches that I had in the past, and they were a big influence on my life, and I'm in the coaching profession still, and so I learn things from everybody every day. So I appreciate all the coaches I had in the past.
Well, gentlemen, we appreciate y'all taking time out of your evening to come visit with us. I know regardless whether whoever wins on Friday night, Waxahachie or Ennis, I think it's clear that it's more than just about a game.